All right. Hello. Welcome, everybody. You got Tom and George here.
Hello.
You guys should be able to hear George loud and clear. Bitcoin on a tear. The Bitcoin miner is a little disappointing, in my opinion, today, but we're going to look at the month-to-date chart, and it tells a bit of a different story. But we kind of got ripped off here at the end of the day, in my opinion, on the Bitcoin miners for the day. So we'll see where we end at the end of the week. It's only Tuesday. I see a bunch of stuff in the comments that I had planned to talk about, some of which I'm surprised everybody's kind of in the loop on. And we will get to those in a moment. Let me fix the feed.
Oh, did everybody know that Sunday kicked off alt season?
I did not know that.
Yeah, we hit when you hit the second all-time high with Bitcoin, it kicks off the alt season.
Oh, sometimes I wonder.
That's pretty kitty. Obviously, this is not my setup. I do not have a pink microphone.
I don't know.
I don't know.
There.
It can't. No homo. I don't even know, dude. I just woke up from a nap.
All right, I give up.
I give up.
I'm trying to fix this thing, but I can't find the screen. So it is what it is. But what I will do then...
Did everybody hear? Well, I'm sure Tom's going to talk about his favorite bit farms today. It's no longer his favorite. I'm going to... Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. We're definitely going to talk bit farms today, as I do every day. I know a lot of you are sick of hearing about it, but I got a little bit of a different twist, as George is alluding to. So I got a chance to do my deep dive and listen to the conference call. I listened to some conference calls over the weekend, and things were said. Bells were rung. So we definitely got to talk about Bitfarms and a bunch of these other companies. The whole entire, with one glaring exception, all the Bitcoin miners, I'll tell you what, this frustrates me. And maybe it's going to pay off in the end, and it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be big and great. Almost every single Bitcoin miner has pivoted to high-performance computing. It doesn't mean they've abandoned their Bitcoin mining. In fact, some of them are still growing at a really nice speed. Some of them have paused their growth. Some of them have stopped their growth. But other than CleanSpark, everybody else is at least anywhere from dabbling to seriously committed to high-performance computing. And the thing is, you know, they were in a thing, Bitcoin, that was speculation. They were all teeny tiny companies or didn't exist at all at the last halving. They finally built themselves out to mature companies. And what do? They shift their business to something that's totally speculative. And why do I say it's speculative? Because nobody's got any revenue from it. Even the mighty Core Scientific has like 50 times as much revenue from Bitcoin mining as they do from high performance computing. Now, that won't be true next year. And there's another exception, Bit Digital, which is why I kicked them off the list. At this point, they will now have more revenue from high-performance computing than Bitcoin mining. They've abandoned ship on Bitcoin mining. So Bit Digital, you know, they may be going to do good things on HPC, but they're pretty much out of mining. But, you know, it's going to take years for Core Scientific, even though they've basically all but abandoned their fleet. They're just running their existing fleet that they owned coming out of bankruptcy, and then they just take machines offline as they become non-profitable. And that's basically, you know, all they're doing. But yet still, if you look at their financials, almost all their revenue is from Bitcoin mining. So this stuff it's highly speculative. Almost nobody has significant contracts yet. And once they do, like, for instance, Core Scientific has huge contracts. There's a long lead time before you get to that revenue. So I just feel like as soon as they got mature at one thing, they switched to something totally speculative. And other than CleanSpark, and I will tell you, I applaud CleanSpark. I like what they're doing. They are the pure play Bitcoin miner. George, your face disappeared. All right, George could potentially be on another call right now. George, if you hear me, just let me know. Join us back when you're ready. And Old Jock is saying Core's HPC income is due to start this month. Well, I mean, that is good. And I know it's coming. They've gotten huge contracts, but it's going to be a while before it even passes their Bitcoin mining. And they have more contracts than all the other Bitcoin miners put together. And it's really just the one gigantic contract. But Iron is shifting towards high performance computing. Riot is shifting towards high performance computing. TerraWolf is big time shifting towards high performance computing, and Bitfarms is big time shifting towards high performance computing. Hut 8, once we break down what they did, they're really not even a Bitcoin miner at all anymore. But we do need to add, which I have, Griffin to the list, because ultimately Griffin's going to do a reverse. That's not really a reverse merger. They're going to quote unquote buy Hut 8's Bitcoin mining operations, which operates under a different name, and they're going to merge together. But the Hut 8 piece of that is 98% of the puzzle. So it's just a backdoor way to go public. So at that point, I think Hut will come off the list and Griffin will go on the list, although Griffin will change their name and I'm sure their ticker to American Bitcoin Mining, maybe. That's what I believe. All right. So let's get into it. So we ended the trading day here in the U.S. The U.S. equity markets closed at pretty much this candle at Bitcoin's high. So we closed at $107,086. We got as high as $107,307. If we go to the 1 day, you'll see, yesterday we got to almost the same exact place. Today we're getting there. So, a couple of days ago on Sunday, we had a big move up. We consolidated all this time, and the next move was up, and we seem to be doing some consolidation here. I mean, this chart, to me, is just really, really bullish, in my opinion. So I think we're headed towards, if we do the math from where we are right now, we are 2.3% away from our all-time high, which we hit we candle wicked up to that on January 20th. Welcome back, George.
Sorry.
I was just saying, this is the closest we've gotten to our all-time high since we hit it on January 20th.
Didn't we take it out?
We did not. We got to our all-time high is 109, and I'm using the Bitcoin Coinbase chart.
Okay.
109,358. Today.
So then we're not in all season then. I thought we took out the all-time high.
Oh, so we got to take that out
before all season takes off. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I'm hoping that's this week. Yeah. So let's ask the question.
That is really funny, Sour Melon Gaming. Sue could have earned more money than OnlyFans. Than Hut's profit first quarter.
Maybe then their profit, but I don't know how much they're paying her.
It's all how far she's willing to go, I guess. Have you been on OnlyFans? I have not. Myself.
I have not, but I think everybody is familiar with what the concept is there. I'm just typing this in.
I have cracked my algorithms, guys. I've made my own algorithms for my new yak for my TikTok replacement thing. It's actually pretty easy. Everybody thinks it's complicated. I think it's pretty easy, honestly.
Well, you did it.
I'm gonna say yes, Tom.
You're gonna say yes. So I'm gonna say I can't answer my own question, but I would be answering yes to this. I mean, I think we're right there. We're right there. One day. Could be tomorrow. And I'm going to get to MicroStrategy or strategy to 20K. Said, Tom, what do you think of MTPLF and ASST? I'm going to definitely talk MTPLF, and I see a bunch of people talking about that. They were up monstrously today, and they're micro mini version of what MicroStrategy is doing. So we're going to take a look, but they're starting to be with today's purchase. I don't know if it was yesterday's or today's. Let's go right to that one and just take a quick look. I'm surprised that this is on everybody's radar to this extent. I don't own any of this. I'm not sure what to make of this company, because there is a company here, just like with MicroStrategy, there's an underlying business that has nothing to do with Bitcoin. But this came out yesterday. MetaPlanet buys another 1,004 Bitcoin. That lifts their holdings to over $800 million. They averaged 103,000. So at just under 104,000, they were willing to make a big purchase. We're going to look at MicroStrategy, who did the same. This gives them now 7,800 Bitcoin. They've gotten there quickly. They're going to pass, they are going to potentially pass Hut, maybe, in 3 to 6 months. They could pass CleanSpark in hodl position in 3 to 6 months. It depends how aggressive their plans are going forward. But buying 1,000 at a time, nobody's mining 1,000 a month. So so what happened to them today is this. They were up 41%. They hit their all-time high today. This hasn't been. So I'm on MTPLF, MetaPlanet. This is a Japanese company, but it does trade in the United States under this ticker right here. And you can see this is the year to date. It's up 322%. And, if you go to all time, its first day of trading looks like it was November 25th, 2024 here. So, it's basically, but I mean, it's up huge. It's going up in a straight line. But this becomes the question: is now the time to get in, or was 2 days ago the time to get in, or yesterday? Because up 41% in one day, and up, in 5 days, this is up 70%. In a month, it's up 167%. But these guys are, they're putting themselves on the map, and they're getting, obviously, as so many of you notice them and are talking about them, they're getting a lot of attention because of this strategy. And unlike the Bitcoin miners, at the moment, this is paying off huge for them. And look, this is a $3 billion market cap company. So it's $3 billion on their Bitcoin. They were, a $500 million or $1 billion maybe as a company before they started accumulating Bitcoin. And I guess Pogo saying you can't buy it in Canada. So I don't know. It's a Japanese company. So in the US you can have access through it here, but I don't own this. I'm not recommending this. I'd be curious to know if any of you guys own it. Drop it in the comments if anybody was ahead of this, because this isn't the first announcement they've made. They've been, putting out announcements. We're buying Bitcoin, but this was the biggest one. And, you can see it took a leap of almost 42% today. That's crazy. And MicroStrategy to 20K saying Metaplanet has a major advantage due to the Japanese tax treatment of crypto. Many now would rather hold Metaplanet. So that's interesting. You're saying versus MicroStrategy, which, you know, is under U.S. tax treatment of crypto, which is making a little bit of progress, by the way. We'll talk about that too. Pogo, I just put a bit to buy some tomorrow on the dip. So we got some people interested in getting in. Will Bitcoin hit its all-time high this week? 80-20. We'll finish it at our 80-20 rule. So 80% say yes. We're very bullish as a group, it would seem. And I think there's every reason to be. Let's go back to the Bitcoin chart. George, we're going to close this one out at 80-20, George, on new all-time high.
Funny. 82 believe that it's going to be.
80 say yes, 20 say no.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Let's see if that helps me.
Just typing a thing.
I gave myself some lights from my daughter's makeup thing.
Oh, nice. I typed this in the wrong thing. Let me.
Tom, is it true you guys are going to get to like over 100 degrees?
I pay.
Or you don't.
I'm oblivious to the weather, other than when I step outside. It's hot. I can tell you that. Well, the Bitcoin miners have a big. I said more this week. Well, they have a big week if Bitcoin hits its new all-time high. So, you know, are we going to catch the run in the second half of the weekend? If you remember, last Friday was a gigantic green day. And I want to go to the charts of where we are so far this week and where we are month to date. Because part of the reason this week isn't so great is the Bitcoin miners were off to the races in the first half of the month. So this is a little bit of Bitcoin catching up to it. Now, obviously, Bitcoin's, you know, in total, still way ahead of the Bitcoin miners. So the Bitcoin miners have a long way to go, but in the month of May, they have been running. So let's take a look at what's going on in May. So this is basically from the close on Friday to the close today. So that's just Monday and Tuesday. You can see Bitcoin's up 3%, a nice big move up. That was really all today, or mostly today. BitDeer up 3%, Iron up 2%. You can see about half of these are in the green. A couple are just above zero. Marathon and Hive still round down to zero. So, you know, they're up 1/4 or 0.5%. TerraWolf, Core Scientific. And then we have a bunch in the red. Bitfarms in the red. Riot in the red. But, you know, -3%, -2, -2, -2, -1 on CleanSpark. So this is another one of those weeks where all of a sudden now Bitcoin is tied with or leading all the Bitcoin miners on Monday or Tuesday. But I'm hoping by the end of this week, things can straighten out. Because if you look at last week, this was last week. So Bitcoin was up 1% last week. We had gigantic moves. And it was an ebb and a flow, you know, depending on which days. Last week, Monday and Tuesday were good. Wednesday and Thursday were very bad. And then Friday was very good. But it all worked out to a big green week. So can the same thing happen? Because if we go so far in the month of May, this is what we're looking at. Other than Bitfarms up 12%, Bitcoin's up 14%, which is a huge month for Bitcoin. So that is a breakout. But you got BitDeer up 63%. You got TerraWolf up 41%. You've got Iron up 41%. Hut 37, Core Scientific 35, Cypher 33. I mean, this is strong performance from basically all the Bitcoin miners. You'll see Marathon and CleanSpark are only beating Bitcoin by a little bit in the month of May, but they are both beating them. But that is because if you go year to date, you'll see Marathon and CleanSpark are in first and second place by quite a bit. So CleanSpark is the only green Bitcoin miner this year. So still lagging behind MicroStrategy. So we will see. I put a chart together. I don't know if I brought it up or if I can go find it of my trade where I sold. I did sell my MicroStrategy. I told everybody that, and I bought Iron, Hive, and a little bit of Riot in place of my MicroStrategy because I just feel like those ones I mentioned are lagging so far behind that they just have more room to catch up. So I would reiterate, that wasn't a knock on MicroStrategy. I just think particularly Hive and Iron, you know, when I bought them, I mean, Iron's already up $2 since I made that trade. So it's up like 35%. And MicroStrategy's done well also. It's up like 25%. So, you know, they're all doing well.
Tom, did you buy any Caspa or no?
I own no Caspa.
It went down to a penny at one point in time in the last month.
Wow. It just, it's, the altcoins are scaring the daylights out of me, and I guess that's what they're meant to do. And I just have a higher level of confidence in the Bitcoin miners being this beaten up still. I just feel like my next dollar, other than Bitcoin and XRP, I think my next dollar is better off in one of these stocks, the right one of these. And Miner Deegan saying, Tom, we still are not getting moves in the miners like we did in 2023 and part of 2024. So, you know, we definitely haven't gotten the moves. 2023 was, you know, phenomenal. But remember, that was coming off of a 2022 that was an absolute disaster. Every single Bitcoin miner from November of 2021, every single Bitcoin miner by November of 2022, 1 year later, was down somewhere between 91 and 99%. So, you know, that 2022 was a disaster. So there was almost nowhere to go but up. But we did have a phenomenal 2022. I'm sorry, 2023. So, and if I think I have, I mean, if you look at that, like this is the action that Miner Deegan is talking about. When are we going to get this? So this is what I would like. This is what I'm looking for. Now, we're not looking anything like that right now. I understand that the first 5 months have just absolutely not done what this is showing here. But I feel like there's still going to be a lot of movement to the upside. That's just my opinion. George, where are you on this? Will the Bitcoin miners have a big move, that's supposed to say, this week if Bitcoin hits new all-time highs?
It would be really nice, you know, but I'm starting to lose faith in these things, Tom.
I hear you. We're at 50.
You know?
50. I'm ending this poll. These are our two polls, 80-20 and 50-50. It's incredible. So, and I understand, and it's days like today that make you feel like, you know, these things just aren't doing anything. If I go back to the big board for today, you'll see a lot of red. I mean, this was a nice day. In fact, both days, this, I don't even know if you guys can see this dotted line here down at 104,000. That's where we were on Friday. So from Friday over the weekend until the end of Monday, we had a nice run up, almost 1.5%. And then from yesterday until today, you know, this was our closing, we had another 1.5% run up. So, you know, Bitcoin did its thing, yet a lot of these Bitcoin miners today, on a day where Bitcoin was up 1.5%, they were mostly red, right? We have so IBIT, which is BlackRock's fund, that was up 1.53% day over day. So that's really what we should be measuring against. And, down 0.8%, down 0.45%, down 1.4. Iron was up 0.8. Cores was up 0.6. I mean, these are just tiny, tiny, tiny moves pretty much across the board. It was just like a nothing day. So I don't know why. And this board looked much better. And then we had this. These are 3 15-minute candles. In this 45 minutes, this board, a lot of these turned from green to red. So they took the ride down, but then they didn't take this ride back up, or they took only a small part of this ride back up. So, it was kind of the last couple hours of the day were kind of a ripoff, but we'll see if it makes up for it tomorrow. We got a bunch of days left this week, and I think we are on the precipice of hitting a new all-time high for Bitcoin.
Well, I hope it happens. I haven't done any movement at all in my Bitcoin miners. I went up to unbelievable amount of money, and I went down to unbelievable amount of money low. Not happy. George is not happy.
And George isn't happy.
No.
And MicroStrategy to 20K saying, Tom, 14 states have now bought MicroStrategy or Strategy. Most are in retirement plans. North Carolina holds Strategy in their state treasury. I like my fellow investors. So I'll jump to an article that goes to that point. Thank you for bringing that up.
To me, it could be sorry, Edmund, but that could just show you how stupid our government really is. And I know why they did it that way, because they couldn't get the exposure to Bitcoin.
You're exactly right. And I think this is the right article. Government-backed funds expanding Strategy holdings show rising Bitcoin demand. But I'm going to show you what their conclusion is out of this. But George, this article says exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
A lot of these funds just don't have access. They can't buy Bitcoin. They can't buy the Bitcoin ETFs. So the closest play they've got in their mind is buying Strategy or MicroStrategy. So
my question, Tom, is who's going to be the first company to jump in?
I know we have, obviously we have Strategy buying hand over fist. Now we got MetaPlanet that's they just bought 1,000, but these are.
Oh, Meta bought it?
MetaPlanet.
I don't know.
Not
Who
Meta.
is that?
It's just a small Japanese company.
Okay.
But
which one of the big 7? I know Tesla. Is Tesla one of the big 7?
Yeah, and they bought theirs a long time ago, and nobody has followed suit. It makes no sense. They're all gonna be late to the party, and we're still in that
Ginsburg.
It's like it's going to be the snap of a finger. Right now, nobody wants to be the first one to do it, but once somebody does it, it's going to very quickly reach a point where your shareholders are going to be mad you don't have any Bitcoin on your balance sheet.
Well, think about this, Tom. Tesla's purchase of those Bitcoin is probably the reason they're still on are they on the NASDAQ or were they on?
Yeah, they've made a lot of money off of just holding that Bitcoin. They bought very low compared to this. And we're seeing like MicroStrategy. I'll go next. They bought a bunch. MetaPlanet bought 1,004 Bitcoin at a price of almost 104,000 per Bitcoin. So this, what this company is saying is based on, this trend of people buying MicroStrategy, of government-backed funds expanding into MicroStrategy. Holding of the stock by government bodies reflects a desire to gain Bitcoin exposure where, in some cases, local regulators do not allow direct ownership. So that's just what George was saying. But look at their conclusion. Recent 13F data supports the bank's core thesis that Bitcoin will reach $500,000 before President Trump leaves office. So that's what they're gleaning from this information. So
Nice.
That is our next poll. I'll just say this date, although that's not the exact date. So will Bitcoin reach 500,000 by December 31st, 2028? And technically, Trump will leave office somewhere like the third week of Jan. So 3 weeks later. So
I thought he's running for a third term, Tom.
Well, there has been talk, hasn't there?
Yeah.
But let's assume. So this is a bold prediction. I'll wait until you guys are done before I answer this question. And if we look, this 15-minute candle we're in, we just got a new high for the day. Yeah, 107.355. We're at 107.2. I mean, we're holding at 107 here. This is just looking so good. And you can see as soon as we got up to this, this big leap up, this is a 3-day window. Like, this is our highest 3-day rolling average in the history of Bitcoin.
Really? Nice.
So I think that is strong. And you can see the bears cannot gain momentum because we're at 70-ish on the daily RSI. And, if we go back in time, you'll see when Bitcoin runs, it was up in November, it was up around 84. In February of 2024, it was up around 86. So mid to high 80s, sometimes as high almost to 90. So being at 70 does not mean you're done. And you can see on the MACD, the bears just can't make it happen.
What is fear and greed at?
Aha, good question. We'll do crypto and then the overall market.
Okay.
Oop, that's not either one of them. So okay, so the crypto fear and greed index is at 71 in greed. We've been in greed for the last week, but this is the low end of greed, and it's not in extreme greed. And there's room when Bitcoin hits new all-time highs. It is most typically spends a little bit of time, a meaningful amount of time in extreme greed. So we haven't gotten there yet. If I go to the max on this, look at this. Back in December and January, December of 2020, January of 2021, we were in extreme greed for all November, December, January. We got up to, let's see, we got to 90 in March of 2024. We got up here, it's not 94 in November of 2024. So, I mean, we can go a lot higher than this on the fear and greed index. We stayed from above 70, October 13th, we stayed there all the way until February 6th. So, that's several months in greed and extreme greed. So, greed is good. Wall Street.
Do you think Diddy's going to crash Bitcoin?
I don't know. I don't know what, if any, ramifications that's going to have on Bitcoin.
Well, there's been a lot of ramifications, but not on Bitcoin.
You're welcome,
New
MicroStrategy
moon.
20K.
There's a new moon on the 26th.
New moon on the 26th. So does that mean we're running up to the new moon? I think that's usually how it works. It's the new moons that, every once in a while they fake us out, but it's usually the new moon. So we're at 6. So the overall market is also in greed at 69, and it's been hanging out. A week ago it was at 69, and it's been around 70 or 71 every day in between. So the market is not scared. And by the way, so I want to go to an article. So to me, this is a big giant thing that shook the market for around 8 seconds. So investors shrug off Moody's downgrade. Moody downgraded the U.S. to an AA1 rating from a AAA rating. A triple A rating is the highest rating, and AA1 is the second highest rating. So Moody has downgraded the United States. Not only did they do that, Moody's downgraded JP Morgan, they downgraded Bank of America, and Wells Fargo. So, this is the anti-US trade. This is the piling on effect. But the fact is, the market couldn't care less because there was not a big reaction to this. We did, I think, finish in the red today, but that's after 6 days of green in a row. So for the S&P 500, and let's see where it finished today. Yeah, we finished down 0.39%. I mean, basically, this was very flat day, and the Russell was actually even up a tiny little bit. So, other rating companies have already downgraded the U.S. Moody's, I think, is the last one now. So according to that, all these are all bad bets. But I feel like the market ignored that, and I think that was the right thing to market for that was the right thing for the market to do. But I'm surprised that they didn't have a massive panic attack with this kind of stuff. Usually, even if it's just big money manipulating, but maybe big money got a little pissed off when they were downgraded themselves. JP Morgan, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo are 3 of the biggest companies in the world. So that is that. Sour Melon Gaming. Bitfarms should be at 30 cents post reverse split at Bitcoin 500K. So let's talk Bitfarms then, because George kind of eluded at the beginning that I am changing my opinion. I'm changing my level of conviction on Bitfarms. This has been coming for a long time. I didn't sell my Bitfarms. I still think there's a run ahead for Bitfarms, but I no longer consider it a long-term hold. So I think it'll be one of the positions that at what I think the peak is, I will dollar cost average out of my Bitfarms and just be done with them. And that could happen 6 months from now, 8 months from now, 12 months. I don't know when or if that'll happen. The exception will be is if somehow they turn out to be the winner and they start getting big contracts on their high performance computing. So let me show you what I'm talking about.
That doesn't even make sense. It just gives you another reason why they need to become a US based company.
Yeah, that's the greatest mystery of all. How are they not a US company? Everything else, the next slide I show you, you're going to see, but I wanted to show you this slide. This is from their investor presentation from earnings. So somebody did mention this in the comments on Friday, and I did hear it for myself over the weekend. Bitfarms is not going to put out a monthly operational report anymore. So that's very disappointing to me. That's a fundamental change. We're going to go to the list. There's now at least 5 companies that have stopped putting out monthly operational reports. And to me, that's very telling. The other thing you're going to see on this page in their investor presentation, so one-time process completed, and they've got these all highlighted in green with a check mark. Complete mining expansion. Check mark. Done. And they said they have no intention of, other than the few machines left that are coming in they're not buying any more machines. They are now going to be a company who runs their close to 20 exahash of machines. They said they're cash flow positive on their Bitcoin mining operations, and they're, after they pay their direct costs, after they pay their indirect costs, they're going to take the rest of that cash and put it all into high performance computing infrastructure. Now, that is exactly what Iron is doing. The big difference is Iron got to 50 exahash. And Iron started years after Bitfarms started. So I get taking, and they said they're going to take a pause. So Iron said, we're going to get to 50 exahash. I may have this somewhere.
So they bought a dog of a company, and then I don't even know why they bought it.
I'll show you why. You're right, but I'll show you why. It's because
Tom, it doesn't improve their situation.
So I'll go right back to that slide, but I just want to show you Iron pausing mining expansion at 50 exahash to focus on AI opportunities. So they didn't say they're done forever, but they are pausing for the indefinite future. They said the same before Bitfarms said this. They said the same thing for the rest of this year, and they have no hodl position. At least Bitfarms does have a hodl position, and they play with futures and that kind of stuff to try to make some money off of Bitcoin. I don't know how successful that is. That's not a significant part of their equation, in my opinion. But when you're mining, when you got 50 exahash and you're doing this, and this is a company that went from 5 to 50 in 18 or 20 months. Bitfarms went from 5 to 20. That's not the same. When they were telling us all year last year we're going to get to 35. Well, they're not going to get to 35, and they've stopped increasing their Bitcoin mining operations. They did say they have great machines. All their machines are going to make money, all the way through the bull market, and it's going to throw off cash flow, and they're going to grow their infrastructure. So let's go back and answer George's question. So the very next slide. So you can see now site-specific things that they want to do: construction, site marketing, customer acquisition ramp, deal finalization, strategic financing, master plan for data center campus. So this is all about data centers. And if you look, U.S. sites are well suited for high performance computing / AI conversion. So they go through each site: Panther Creek, Scrubgrass, Sharon, Washington State. And, these were the stronghold sites. So immediate capacity, land, robust fiber network, proximity to major metros, high demand area for compute, proceeding with high performance computing AI development. So you can see all the rest of what they got, no, not for Bitcoin mining, for high performance computing. So this is a fundamental change in what they're doing. Having said that, they're a very efficient, very effective Bitcoin miner. They still, the last monthly operational report that they put out was April, and I guess that's going to be their last one. And they finished in 5th place for the month by a lot. So, it's not like they're failing at mining Bitcoin. And their financial statements showed, a nice amount of gross profit that they threw off cash from all that. But having said that, this is now a different company. This is now a part of what they do is Bitcoin mining. They're not going to grow that part, and they are now going speculative on the high performance computing. And who isn't is the problem.
I can tell you what, Tom, a short report's coming on this guy. Be forewarned. You can see somebody going to get ready to mess with these bastards
with Bitfarms.
Yeah, I mean, because they're ripe for it. I mean, you look at their EBITDA. I mean, it makes me puke in my mouth a little bit that they did that with Stronghold, because I don't even see how they didn't even talk about it. Do they have any footnotes or anything about it?
I mean, they went through their data centers here and.
No, but they just did this humongous acquisition, and all it did was suck the life out of them.
Yeah, so here, well positioned for continued growth in 2025 and beyond. Continued focus on U.S. expansion and diversification beyond Bitcoin mining. Maximize value of power portfolio.
It just seems like they're grasping on straws. If they wanted to do this the right way, they should have had a freaking small AI company say that they're going to host with them.
I'm with you, George, and I'm with old Jock, who said, like I was previously saying, Bitfarms should have used Stronghold's U.S. listing, like ABTC are going to be using Griffins. This is exactly what. Right. So Hut's converting theirs. They merged. They're 80% owners in this company, American Bitcoin, and now they're going to merge with Griffin, which is a publicly traded company, and boom, they're a publicly traded U.S. company. Bitfarms could have done the same thing, and George, you've been screaming that for months and months, and old Jock is pointing it out here that here Hut is doing that. They're doing it right now.
Yeah, I couldn't understand why I even asked you about it when they were doing it. It was one of the questions way back when.
Yeah.
To try to understand why they would do that, especially with a pro-Bitcoin president. I mean, we didn't have a pro-Bitcoin president before, but once we had a pro-Bitcoin president, it makes a lot more sense to get the big money than not get the big money.
I think all the tailwinds are behind Bitcoin right now. Everything is going in Bitcoin's favor, and that, we're going to have all of a sudden everybody will be bearish and the sky is falling. We get our pullbacks. We know this, right? We just got a 30% pullback. And then, now we're 2.5% away from our all-time high. So that's how this goes. But I think, we should run up past that before we get a pullback, in my opinion, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. To me, this doesn't feel like, I feel like this is very reactionary, and this might be their best path forward given what has happened to them, but it's still reactionary. So, and what I mean by that is their stock got pounded, right? They were at 67 cents. I mean, that's a ridiculous market cap based on the fact that they were the 5th largest Bitcoin miner. I think they were the 9th largest market cap out of the Bitcoin miners. So it made no sense. But it forced them, I think, into a corner. A part of that was the, riot looming over their head with, a hostile takeover attempt, which I think they've given up on. They didn't.
Yeah, I'm sure they're running to the hills.
Yeah, I think they've had enough of that. Bitfarms can use their merger to change their name to Bitfold. Listen, I'm not selling it yet, but I have changed my opinion. This is now not a long-term thing for me. I'm going to take the run. I think they're going to participate in the run and then get out. And there's other companies that I think will go on. I'll take profits, but I'm not going to abandon. There are other companies I will not be abandoning ship on, because I think they've set up strong business models. And one of the other calls I listened to over the weekend was CleanSparks, and I like what they're doing. I agree with what they're doing. They're doing exactly what they said they were going to do. They did what they said they were going to do, and so they're going to be a bunch of things on the CleanSpark call. They talked about they've already bought, paid for, have all the machines here. Tariffs are not a factor for them to get to 50 exahash. They've also already paid for all the machines to get to 57 exahash, but they're not committing to that. They said on the call they will no longer be giving timeframes. In other words, they're not going to say we're targeting 60 exahash by the end of this year, 80 exahash by the end of next year. They said we are going to be opportunistic, and when the time is right, we have options on machines. I think they said to get to 65 exahash. So they're going to just be opportunistic when the options present itself. And they feel strongly that a lot of the smaller Bitcoin mining companies aren't going to make it through the next halving, and they're going to have opportunities to buy. I also think it's smart for everybody to take a pause right now in buying equipment. So I'm not shocked or surprised to see people backing off. And the reason I say that is you've got chips coming out that, if we're to believe BitDeer, they're going to have a chip that's going to be maybe 6 joules per terahash. So you need these fleets. The most efficient fleets are right now Iron at 15 joules per terahash, and CleanSpark just went a little under 17 joules per terahash. So if there's going to be new machines at 6, or even if they don't reach that goal, maybe it's 8 or 9 or 10, even 10 is a significant drop from 15 or 16 or 17. So if I was these companies, I would, they grew, they kept up with, a lot of these companies kept up with the halving and the increase in the difficulty level. So they're still mining the same amount of Bitcoin they were before the halving. And I don't think the difficulty level is going to skyrocket the rest of this year. We're most of the way through May, and it's up about 11% year to date. So that is the least it's done in a long, long time. And you see all of the big public companies saying, well, not all of them. Some of them have some plans, but a lot of them are saying, we're taking a time out. We're taking a pause. We'll do this when it makes sense. So we're still bouncing.
I'm upset.
You're upset?
Yeah.
What's got you upset?
What's gotten me upset is we can't break it. We get up to the rate when it looks like we're going to break the all-time high and it stops. What's up with that?
Let's go to the 1 day. I know, but if you look at today's candle, we're getting near the end of this candle. This stands a really good chance of being the highest candle close in the history of Bitcoin. So although it's not a new all-time high, it looks like, unless we slip, this is going to be the highest daily candle close in the history of Bitcoin, is going to be today. So I think that's a very good sign. And the second highest close was 2 days ago. So, we're having a grouping here just underneath this, and I really feel like the next leg is up, and so it is frustrating. But, I mean, if you look at it from this bottom, we had the 7th, 8th, 9th, and the 9th we took off. So it was really the 7th and the 8th. This candle close, this daily close on the 8th was the absolute bottom. We candle wicked below that the next day and then had a gigantic green day that day. So, from there, this is very good price action. I mean, you can't ask for much more than, if we go from here, I didn't do it. We're up 43% in a month and a half. So, that's a nice run. Will Bitcoin reach 500K by 12/31/2028? I'm going to call it 80-20, 79-21. 79-20, and 79% think yes, Bitcoin will hit 500,000. So that's going to be after the next halving. So for that reason, I am also a yes on that. I think it will definitely be beyond 500,000 after the next halving. So,
Tom, I got one for you.
Yeah.
The smartest investment decision I could have ever made is buying Bitcoin.
Well,
because not only do I think I'll be able to sell it tax-free, right? So I'll get all those gains tax-free. That's number one. Number two is I can borrow money off of it.
Yes.
And that is what's blowing my mind about this. I don't think people understand how amazing Bitcoin is just for that reason. I can't go to my bank and do this. I can't go to my bank with the money that I had, the fiat dollars that I have, and say, hey, I need blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, well, we're going to encumber it. It goes through this all rigmarole. Literally, as soon as I want money, 2 seconds and it's in my bank.
So you've got a line of credit.
Yeah. At any point in time.
Secured by your Bitcoin.
At any point in time. And I can go up to It's at 5%. I don't know if that's prime. What's prime, Tom?
Oh, they're paying you interest. Or that's
No,
your
have to
if
pay,
you
I
borrow.
have to pay prime. Yeah, I have to pay prime.
Yeah.
So I have to pay prime, but I can go up to 90% before I have any problems. If it hits 90%, it goes up to 16% interest rate, but it doesn't take your Bitcoins.
Yeah, that's interesting that they'll let you borrow up to 90 and beyond 90%. That's taking on
Yep.
some risk on their end, and they're
Yep.
willing to
Yep.
say
Yep.
any risk is short term, long term. They
Yep.
believe Bitcoin is going where
Yep.
we
And
think it's going.
as long as you stay current, I'm sure there has to be a closeout period. But like if I only take up to half of my Bitcoin, it's 0% interest. How about that one?
What do you mean? If you
So let's say I have $100,000. If I only take 50%, $50,000, I pay zero interest.
take that in a loan, you pay zero
Yes,
interest.
it's only after 50,000.
Wow,
Or it's 50%.
that's crazy.
And they do this. They do a running like total, and yeah, then there's a coin. They made a coin off of this too, which is smart. So here's what's interesting though. When you do this, you no longer can have true Bitcoin. It's now wrapped Bitcoin. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Even though it's interchangeable in their eyes.
Well, I've got an article on some legislation that's going through for stable coins, and one of the key sticking points that they've ironed out and agreed on is stable coins will not be allowed to offer interest to people.
Really?
They did not want stable coins competing with the banks and for that matter the government. Although
but could they offer crypto?
Well, I think they can't. No, I think they cannot lend on their stable, or they cannot give any interest on their stable coin at all. Now, if you convert your stable coin to something else that gives interest, that's fine. But the stable coins themselves, they want control of these stable coins. This is step one in the Bitcoin world, and they just took, let me find. This was yesterday. Senate advances stablecoin bill clearing the way for final passage. At least 60 senators voted in favor of the Genius Act, which is the Stablecoin Act, on Monday night. Lawmakers voted to advance the Senate's landmark stablecoin legislation. The vote was a second effort after a previous attempt to advance the legislation failed. The U.S. Senate voted to move ahead on stablecoin legislation Monday night, removing a procedural barrier to ultimately pass the bill out of the body entirely. Senators easily cleared the 60-vote threshold. So this is going to go through. It'll go to the House where it just needs a simple majority, and then it's going to go into law. So we're going to have some regulation on stablecoin, and what that means is they're going to let all the banks hold stablecoin, transact in stablecoin. There's going to be this is where, I said this over a year ago, and it's taken them this long. I said we got to get the first thing that's got to happen. And if you remember, we had a stablecoin disaster that was one of two or three things that led to the brutal crypto winter. We had that logarithmic or whatever it was stablecoin that wasn't actually just, it was theoretically pegged to the dollar, but in reality it was not. So there's going to be none of that. So this looks like it's going through, and I think this is a big step.
I think I'm going to do a stablecoin too, Tom, off of the XRP network.
Stable coins are, think about their business model. It's the easiest money in the history of the world because they just sit there and make whatever it is, 4 or 5% interest, right? Tether has.
I'm speaking of Tether. Do you think we'll ever get to the bottom of Tether? I've heard stories from Treasury Department people that will blow your mind about Tether. Explain to me how Treasury bills get sold, and explain to me what is it called? Not they don't call it discount points. What do they use it as? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what the word is.
No, they call it. It's like a discount. Like you don't pay $1 for it. You have a discount on it. You have, they have this fancy term for it. So like for the example, if let's say Saudi Arabia buys $1 trillion worth of our loans, right? Well, they mark it down to 900 billion, and then they get to make $100 billion off of that.
So that we can get the 900.
So we can get, yes. And that's how it's been going on for years and years. So the interest rates doesn't even matter.
Well, and this is on the Treasury bills, and and this is a part of what Moody's just downgraded, which did not have a big giant reaction. The 10-year was very stable. The 30-year freaked out a little bit, but it settled back down. So, I mean, that's a whole nother story, is the Fed is just not lowering rates. They're bent on not lowering rates. And I don't know why. I think they're going to be forced into just doing it all at once by waiting and waiting and waiting. Then they're going to be doing emergency rate cuts, which has happened multiple times in the past, or 50% or 50 basis points or 100 basis points at once instead of 25. So I'm not sure why they.
Do you think that this alt season's going to be a lot different?
I'm probably wrong, because this is probably exactly how everybody feels before alt season kicks in. But I feel like the big runs on the, top 50 aren't necessarily going to happen. And I don't know how to pick, the number 286th coin that's going to 20x. We're going to get meme coins and that kind of stuff that we always do. But I don't know. I mean, have we ever had, our market cap right now, according to CoinGecko, is almost $3.5 trillion. I don't know what the all-time high market cap for the crypto universe is, but we got to be.
I think it was 3.8, 3.9.
So we're getting close. And, there's not, maybe we're going to blow away by it. Maybe we're going to go to 5, 6, 7 trillion. We would need altcoin to kick in. And if Bitcoin still is, not done with its run, I guess that's entirely possible. But I think due to a lack of knowledge, I'm afraid of all but 3 or 4 of these coins.
Well, I think this time, that people don't understand that we don't have the money that we had on the last alt season. We had a ton of money and a ton of time.
We had interest rates at 0. They were passing money out. The M2 supply. Now the worldwide M2 supply is growing, but the Federal Reserve is shrinking their balance sheet. So that is not helping over here. And so you're right. I mean, the monetary policy has to loosen up if we're going to get the altcoin season. If 6 months from now, they've only done 0 or 1 rate cut, and we haven't gotten some type of stimulus package out in the United States, then we may not get these gigantic runs like we did last time. That's a very good point, George.
Yeah. No, I've already noticed that there hasn't been the activity that happened last time right now. If you kind of compare, this timing to the last timing. And it just doesn't seem like we're getting the price movement on these coins that we should be.
And that's a part of what the Bitcoin miners are suffering from. These are small cap, high growth, high risk. That's when money's flowing, that's where it starts to go, and things can get crazy. But if they're gonna put a stranglehold on the money, then that's a problem.
Well, and what's our total credit card debt in America right now? Did you see that number?
I haven't seen it recently, but I know it's been at all-time highs.
Well, I was real close to 1.5 trillion.
And we also have a lot of money on the other side. We have a lot of money sitting on the sidelines still. Big money. So
4 trillion, 5 trillion?
Right. It's the haves and the have-nots.
Don't get me going.
So let me just check my list here.
The first quarter credit card debt represent 1.18 trillion. It's a slight decrease of 1.21 trillion a quarter ago. Wow, isn't that amazing? That's great. No, I'm happy. I'm serious.
You're glad I went.
That means it's coming down. Wait. Credit card debt is one component of total household debt. Guess how much total household debt is in the United States?
Well, does that include their mortgage?
Yes.
Oh, then it's going to be a staggering multi-trillion-dollar number. I mean,
yes. 18.2 trillion.
Yeah, that's
woo-wee.
That's a lot of.
Add that.
That's almost half our debt.
Yeah.
That's how crazy that's gotten. And how Moody's picks now, and they cite the debt.
I know.
It's like, oh, now you just woke up and you think maybe our debt's out of control?
Do you think, I know this didn't happen, but it almost seems like it's a power play, to mess with Trump.
Oh, I think it's totally political.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I mean, what our debt's been spiraling. Let's put it this way. From 2020 to 2024, our budget deficits were the biggest budget deficits we've ever had in the history of the world. Our debt's grown monumentally. So in that 4-year period of unprecedented debt growth, Moody's didn't think there was anything wrong at all. But now all of a sudden, yesterday for some reason. So
how about this one, Tom? The debt that we created in those 4 years represents over 220 years of existence of the United States.
Yeah, and so old Jock's bringing up a good point. Congress just approved an increase in the national debt by another $4 trillion, and that looks like it's going to be a part of this deal. But the fact is, we did way more than that in the last 4 years. Way more.
Oh, yeah.
We were having $2 or $3 trillion deficits just from the budget. Never mind the stimulus we were passing out. Our debt has been spiraling. So yeah, they're just doing the math, and it's inevitable. They're either gonna cut the budget, and here's the biggest problem: we're now paying $1 trillion in interest because the freaking Fed won't lower the interest rates. So
that's the biggest problem.
So we have no choice. We're forced to run up the debt, right? I mean, there was massive cuts in this bill they're trying to pass. It's not passed yet, but it's nowhere near enough to not have to accumulate more debt. So.
Oh, that's good. At least the state and government and local debt, at least the $36.2 trillion is every piece of debt that we own, including the federal and state local government debt.
Oh, that's all debt everywhere. That's just not our national debt.
You know what? I don't think that's correct. And AI says that.
I don't think that's correct either.
Yeah, I don't, because that's what they're saying. It says the total public debt of the United States includes both federal and state local government debt is estimated to be around $36.2 trillion. Of this, about $29 trillion is held by public, representing borrowing from domestic and foreign investment. The remaining $7 trillion is government debt, intra-government debt. Yeah, I wow.
So my thing is saying the total gross federal debt of the United States federal debt is 36.2 trillion as of May 20th.
Yeah, and this is from AI responses may include mistakes. This is from whatever their new AI is at Google. Have you done Chat GPT and that's it?
I didn't ask ChatGPT. I can do that on my phone. And
I'll
I
do
know
it.
AI's Google is finished of the three that I looked at and dead last. It's not even really, I don't even really count it as AI. I think it's just a quick search results. So we'll get this poll down. Will Bitcoin reach 500K by the end of 2028? So we had some more people vote and get this down to more like a 70-30, 69-31. So we're still optimistic of 500K in 4 years, but we were at 80-20 at one point. So a few late votes came in on no.
$2 trillion worth of debt for state and local governments. So it brings it up $39 trillion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this federal number is staggering. Old Jock saying Jerome Powell's waiting for that tariff inflation is going to kick in, I reckon. I mean, I got some articles on that too. You know, we just got CPI for April, and that was the first month of tariffs. Now, we've been all over the place. They've been on pause, they've been on again, they've been off again, but I don't think you're ever going to see that big board that came out on April 2nd with all those giant numbers on it. I just don't think you're ever going to see that play out. What I do think is you're going to see that 10% floor. I think the U.S. is going to hold their ground on that, but there's going to be a lot of give and take, and a lot of it is going to be non-trade related, tied in with the trade in these negotiations. That's what we're starting to see. So I think the tariff situation is dramatically overblown, but I'll tell you who disagrees with me. Let me find this. Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan. So his big announcement at his annual meeting was that he's still within his time frame. He's going to retire sometime in the next 5 years. So no big news there. People were expecting maybe a little more clarity on that. So this is the biggest financial institution right here in the United States, JP Morgan. So he's saying, Jamie Dimon, who's the CEO, says markets are too complacent on tariffs and expects the S&P earnings growth to collapse. And if you read down here, at some point, if I can find it, he expects growth to go to zero. The S&P 500 earnings growth year over year, he expects to be zero in 2025. See if I can find that. Here we go. In 6 months, those projections will fall to zero earnings growth after starting the year at around 12%. So I think he's dead ridiculously wrong about that. I don't think he even believes that. You know, these guys have reasons for everything that they say, and they're not always to help the small-time retail investor figure out what's going on. Let's just put it that way. So time will tell. We'll see if these, and then I have another one here. So Home Depot is saying they will not raise any prices due to tariffs. So, you know, this is one of the giant retail. Walmart was complaining, we think we're going to have to raise prices.
Well, you know what's funny is Home Depot raises price based on scarcity of materials.
Yeah, they got almost like a formula in.
Yeah. So that's kind of a misnomer right there.
But he's saying that no country in the world, by the end of, I think, this year or next year, no country in the world other than the United States will represent more than 10% of their purchases, including China. So,
Really?
yes.
Home Depot?
Home Depot.
So basically, they're going to get
spent
everything that's made in the United States?
Well, no, that means no single country will be more than 10%. And Home Depot has said they've spent the last, with the supply chain shock that we got 4 years ago, unlike the United States government, Home Depot has been diversifying for the last 4 years to make sure that they can't get stuck if one country isn't going to cooperate.
So you know how Home Depot works now, right? I mean, it's not what you think it is. I don't know if you do.
It never is.
No. So Home Depot operates totally different than any other retailer out there. They own their down brands. It's not, so they don't put Home Depot on it or like Green Value or
right.
So they actually own the stuff. So when they go and they get chairs or whatever, like they own lumber companies, they own manufacturing companies, and they're making deals. So it's a subsidiary that makes profit, because if you saw how much profit they really made, you would plot your pants.
So here's to go to your point, George. This third bullet point: as higher interest rates slow the housing market, the retail has attracted more business from home professionals. And as a result, they've acquired SRS Distribution, which sells roofing supplies, pool, and landscape professionals. So there's exactly to your point. They bought this company.
Let me tell you something about them, matter of fact, because I'm waiting for my drywall to be delivered on a house I'm building up on Lake Lanier. They don't want to deliver it because it's drywall and it weighs a lot. It is the most, I've had them cancel on me 3 times, but it's like $10 cheaper a board than to go to like an actual drywall company and get it. Isn't that insane? $10 a board cheaper.
Yeah, well, the drywall companies are ripping you off.
Yeah, that's it. They're ripping you off.
Because you want to install your own drywall.
Right. They're $10 more a board. I was just like, wow, that sucks. I don't know how my brain became so big.
It's one of life's mysteries.
No, but I didn't know that with, Home Depot, and I find it interesting. Like, they're just buying from themselves. So when they say the cost of lumber went up or stuff like that, it's because they increased the price of lumber.
Well, that's vertical integration. How about that?
Yeah, vertical integration. Yeah. That's how you become, what's their market cap? 60, 70 billion?
Oh man, let's check. They're a big company. I think it's a lot bigger than that.
Oh, they're 150. Yeah, I mean, we watch their 2 corporate jets fly in, almost every single day.
374 billion.
Billion, yeah.
And to put it in perspective, I don't know internationally how much this company is, but in the United States, wherever you see a Home Depot, somewhere within a stone's throw, you'll see a Lowe's.
No, then watch Lowe's, yeah.
Look at the difference. $374 billion market cap.
Or 40 billion?
This can't be the right. Did they get L? 18 billion.
Oh, I was even off by 20 billion. They just basically allow Lowe's to exist.
This has got to be the wrong Lowe's. Insurance, property, and casualty. Oh, because I'm spelling it wrong.
LOWE.
Maybe they're not publicly traded anymore.
Yes, they are.
Lowe's companies. Let's see if this is it. Home improvement. There we go. 129 billion. So it's a third of the size of Home Depot.
I'll be honest with you. I'm in shock it's that high.
Yeah, there's a lot of Lowe's in the United States anyway. I'm going to let us know in the rest of the world.
Yeah, well, have you ever heard the acronym about Lowe's?
No.
Lowe's blows. No contractor will walk foot in there unless you have to.
I know that to be true here. Contractors deal with Home Depot almost exclusively.
Yeah, because they just cannot figure out anything. They can't figure out how to tie their shoes. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. You know?
Oh, here's one more for you. I'm going to have to go in a few minutes.
How about this one? Oh, okay. How about this? I took and ordered tile from Lowe's. And when I went online, I mean, this does not happen at Home Depot. And I ordered the tile, and then I get a thing. We're sorry. Your tile is not available. And they don't tell me for 2 to 3 days. Okay? That doesn't happen at Home Depot. That happens at Lowe's. And that just happened. So then I went to another store and ordered it. And then another 2 days go by. We're sorry. Your order cannot be fulfilled at this present time. But it shows it on the computer that you have it.
That's mad.
So it took 3 different Lowe's to be able to get what we needed.
That's like my pizza Friday night. It said your driver's waiting to pick up your pizza, and then it said your order's been canceled.
Yeah. Are you kidding me?
No.
Why?
I don't know. They were like, but we can get it from another store if you want, but it's going to be another hour. So I actually did it. So I waited like 2 hours for a pizza.
Wow.
So Strategy bought more Bitcoin this week. Strategy has acquired 7,390 Bitcoin for approximately $764.9 million, an average price of $103,498. So, $103,500. So this is a part of, this is another huge purchase. This gives them 576,000 coins. And if I can find, this article talks about Crypto Daybook. Bitcoin's stability above 100K is cementing a new psychological floor. So we've been above 100,000 for, I think today is the 12th or 13th day in a row. We're going to close above 100,000. We did get 16 days the last time. So 16 days is the all-time record. But on those 16 days, we reached a peak early and fell and fell and fell. The opposite is happening. We're 12 or 13 days into this, and we're at our highs on this run over 100,000. So people are buying. There's that psychological, like, well, I'm not going to pay over 100 for Bitcoin. It's going away or it's gone. So
I haven't done it yet.
You haven't bought more?
No, I haven't bought over 100. No, it's been really hard. I think that it's going to be really close to that 16 days. How many days has it been so far?
Let's count. Let's go to the 1-day chart. So
because if my prediction's right, it's going to be the 26th.
You can see
how many days it would be.
On May 8th, we went above this giant green candle right here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Today is day 13. And we're way above, right? And moving up. We're 13 days in, and we're at our high of this 13-day period. Unlike the last time, where you can see, once we got above 100, it kind of went straight back down. The high was, let's see if this closed. That closed below. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4 days to hit the high. And the other 12 were this downward trend. Well, we're having the opposite go on right now. So I think we're about to break out. It looks to me like it's all good things happening.
Well, that's good. Well, I'll let you get out of here, Tom.
I have a big event to go to. So thank you
nice
very much, everybody. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for being members. Thanks for chatting with us. George, thanks for your time as well. Any parting thoughts?
Yeah, call me.
You got it.
I'll see you guys. Bye.
All right, see ya.